Have you ever wondered why the world maps we see are not real? A captivating question, isn't it? We've grown up with world maps adorning the walls of our classrooms, decorating the pages of our textbooks, and filling the spreads of atlases. These maps, so familiar and seemingly accurate, have guided us through countless lessons and explorations. But what if I told you they're not as precise as we've been led to believe? Let's delve into this illusion of maps. You see, the world is a sphere and a map is a flat surface. Trying to project a three-dimensional object onto a two-dimensional plane is bound to create some distortions. It's like trying to peel an orange and lay the peel flat. It's impossible to do it without tearing, stretching, or squashing it. Similarly, the process of creating a map inevitably leads to distortions in the shape, size, distance, or direction of landmasses. But that's not all. The maps we see are also influenced by map projections. These are methods used to represent the curved surface of the Earth on a flat map. There are countless ways to project a map, and each method results in a different representation. Some projections preserve the shape of the landmasses but distort their size, while others maintain accurate distances but alter the shapes. No single projection can depict the Earth accurately in all aspects. Beyond the technical challenges, there's another layer to this illusion: the influence of power and politics. Maps have historically been tools of the powerful, used to assert control, claim territories, and shape perceptions. The way countries are depicted on a map can reflect the biases and priorities of its creators. So, the maps we see are not just geographical representations, but also political ones. So, it turns out that our world maps are not as accurate as we might have thought. The maps we've been relying on are, in fact, a complex blend of scientific attempts to represent a spherical world on a flat surface, and historical and political influences that shape our perception of the world. But don't worry, we're just getting started. There's a lot more to this fascinating story of the illusion of maps. One of the primary reasons our world maps are not real is due to distortion. Now, let's take a moment to unpack that. You see, distortion is a tricky beast. It's the unwanted yet unavoidable consequence of trying to squeeze a three-dimensional object, in this case our Earth, into a two-dimensional representation, like a map. Imagine you have an orange and you want to make a flat image of it. You would need to peel it and flatten the skin. The result? A distorted representation of the original shape. This is the same challenge cartographers face when creating maps of our planet. Our Earth is a spheroid, not perfectly round but slightly squashed at the poles and bulging at the equator. Yet, our maps are flat. This incongruity between the actual three-dimensional shape of the Earth and the two-dimensional surface of a map leads to all sorts of distortions. One of the most glaring examples of this distortion is the size of countries and continents. Take Greenland and Africa, for instance. On many world maps, Greenland appears to be roughly the same size as Africa, if not larger. But here's the truth: Africa is almost 14 times larger than Greenland. Yet our maps often fail to reflect this, making Greenland seem like a giant in comparison to Africa. Why does this happen? Well, it's a side effect of the distortion. When cartographers try to flatten the Earth's surface onto a map, areas near the poles, like Greenland, are stretched and exaggerated, while regions near the equator, like Africa, are compressed. This leads to a skewed perception of sizes and distances, making some places appear larger or smaller than they actually are. So, the next time you look at a world map, remember this: what you see is not an accurate representation of the Earth's true size and shape. It's a distorted image, a necessary compromise for the sake of convenience. Distortion, therefore, significantly contributes to the inaccuracy of our world maps. Another reason our world maps are not real is because of something called map projections. Now, you might be wondering, what are map projections? Well, let's dive right into it. When we try to represent our three-dimensional world onto a flat, two-dimensional surface like a map, we need to use a projection. Think of it as trying to peel an orange and lay the peel flat on a table. It's bound to get distorted, right? That's exactly what happens with map projections. There are many types of map projections, each with its own set of strengths and weaknesses. Let's explore a few of them. First up, we have the Mercator projection. This is the one you've likely seen in classrooms. It's great for navigation because it keeps all the lines of longitude and latitude straight, but it significantly distorts the size of land masses as they get closer to the poles. Therefore, Greenland appears much larger than it actually is. Next, we have the Robinson projection. This one is an attempt to create a more balanced map, minimizing distortion of size, shape, and distance all at once. But it's not perfect. The pole areas are still slightly distorted, but less so than in the Mercator projection. Lastly, let's talk about Good's Homolocene projection. This one is often called an orange peel map because it looks like an orange peel laid out flat. It does a pretty good job at accurately representing both the size and shape of the continents. However, the downside is that the oceans get distorted and it's not useful for navigation. So, as you can see, each projection has its own pros and cons. None of them can perfectly represent our round Earth on a flat surface without some distortion. And this, my friends, is the projection problem. The use of different projections further complicates the accuracy of our world maps. So, the next time you look at a map, remember it's not just a simple picture. It's a complex representation of our world, full of compromises and decisions made by the mapmaker. The final reason our world maps are not real is tied to power and politics. Maps, you see, are not just simple geographical representations. Historically, they have been used as tools of power and control, often skewing the reality to fit a certain narrative. Consider the colonial era maps, for instance. During the Age of Empires, maps were instrumental in asserting dominance and control. The colonizers often minimized the size of the lands they colonized, thus reinforcing their supremacy and marginalizing the colonized. Africa, a continent larger than North America, Europe, and China combined, was often drawn smaller, reducing its perceived importance on the global stage. And it's not just a thing of the past. This continues even today, with certain countries depicted larger or smaller due to political reasons. For example, the Mercator projection, a commonly used map in schools and textbooks, greatly exaggerates the size of high-latitude countries like Russia or Canada, while underrepresenting equatorial regions. The result? A distorted view of the world where power and politics outweigh geographical accuracy. But why, you might ask, is this still happening in the 21st century? Well, like many things in life, it boils down to perspective and influence. Maps are created by humans, and humans are influenced by their cultural, political, and social contexts. Mapmakers, consciously or unconsciously, can introduce bias into their work, emphasizing certain regions while downplaying others. In essence, maps are more than just lines and colors on a piece of paper. They are a reflection of the world as seen through the eyes of those in power. They shape our perception of the world, influence our understanding of global affairs, and can even sway public opinion. So the next time you look at a world map, remember that what you're seeing is not just a physical representation of the world, but a narrative shaped by power and politics. Power and politics, thus, play a significant role in the inaccuracy of our world maps. So, why does it matter that our world maps are not real? Let's circle back to the crux of our discussion. The illusion of maps, the distortion dilemma, the projection problem, and the power and politics perspective all intersect at a single point. Our perception of the world is greatly influenced by how it is presented to us, and maps play a pivotal role in this presentation. Maps are not just mere geographical tools, they are the lenses through which we perceive the world. When these lenses are distorted, our understanding of the world becomes skewed. The size, shape, and position of countries can become distorted, leading us to underestimate or overestimate their significance. This can perpetuate misconceptions and biases, affecting everything from our understanding of global issues to our interactions with people from different parts of the world. Moreover, the power and politics that influence mapmaking can shape our worldview in subtle yet profound ways. When certain countries are placed at the center or enlarged, it can unconsciously communicate a message of dominance or importance. This can perpetuate a Eurocentric view of the world, marginalizing other regions and cultures. Inaccurate maps can also have practical implications. They can mislead us in terms of navigation, planning, and decision-making. They can distort our understanding of distances and directions, leading to inefficient travel plans and logistical errors. So, how can we counteract these distortions? It starts with awareness. Understanding the limitations and biases inherent in maps is the first step towards seeking more accurate representations of the world. We can explore different types of map projections, seek out maps that center different regions, and challenge the political biases that influence map making. Let's strive to see the world as it truly is, not as it is presented to us. Let's question, challenge, and seek the truth, because the world is far more complex and diverse than any map can capture. Remember, a map is just a representation, and it's up to us to seek the truth behind the map.